Welcome to the Ark, dear. Episode 23.
I'm sad.
Why are you sad, dear?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. For one, Vicky's gone.
Yeah.
And Steven's...
She went a while ago.
Steven's gonna be gone soon.
You don't know that.
I know that.
You know that because I told you that, but I told you that.
I'm sad!
You forget.
I'm sad.
Jesus.
I'm only getting it for like 3 episodes, and I really it's not fair.
Listen, petition fucking BBC to
to
give the fucking restoration team more money to animate the missing episodes, or petition them to search the world harder to find more complete prints of the episodes that are missing.
Okay. There's a monitor lizard, and the episode's called The Steel Sky. And there's a toucan that flies in next to it, which is weird because they don't live in the same environment. And then there's someone in a snakeskin suit with an eye in their mouth that is really gross. And they walk through the jungle. There's some snakes and leaves, and the TARDIS is swooping in. And Dodo is here. Her name is Dodo.
Her name is Dodo.
And she is sneezing. And Steven comes after her going, Dodo, where the fuck do you think you're going? You didn't even check if there was an atmosphere or anything like that. What are you doing? And she's like, I don't care. Looking at toucans and shit. This is just a zoo.
For context, she literally was not involved at all in the previous episode. And in the last, 2 minutes, Steven leaves the TARDIS. The Doctor thinks he's going to be alone. Then Steven comes back running, going, oh god, I think someone just got hit by a car, we need to contact someone. And then Dodo comes in after him, going, hey guys, what's going on here? I'm someone. And then they take off.
Her real name is
that's the gist
Dorothea, by the way, but she likes being called Dodo.
Because she's in the 60s.
Yeah. So they're like, this is weird. It's Earth, but not really, and we're kind of confused about what's going on. And they're just learning a whole lot about nature and stuff, and they walk off, and then a lizard scaly hand pushes some leaves away, and then there's more of them, and everyone's in a courtroom. And the lizard scaly man hands paper to another person who's human, and he signals for someone to come in. And that someone is being charged for being careless to the human race and the monoids. For doing some shit that could have killed them all. And the prisoner is to be microized until he's cellular size so he can't do anything.
Oh.
Because that wouldn't kill you in any way.
Oh.
A woman comes up and goes, Father, he won't do it again, I promise. And they're like, we can't help it. We're the guardians of the human race under galactic law, and there's nothing we can do about it. So they put him in a cardboard box, and they shrink him until he poofs away. Then they take the glass petri dish away, so he can't fuck with anyone anymore. And apparently the monoids can't speak, which is what those weird wig eye mouth lizard things were. They also have duck feet, which is kind of interesting. And so they sort of just take him away, and then we zoom in very quickly on the prosecutor's face, and he's very angry. And then we cut to Dodo and everyone, and they see an elephant, and they go over and pet it. And then I remembered the 60s, and I felt bad for the elephant. And it's a jungle without a sky, and incorporating animals from every single place in the world, apparently.
Wow.
In one jungle. But also the earth below them is also trembling. And by trembling, I mean the Doctor put his hand on it and wiggled it back and forth. So, but it feels like a regular tremble, like a mechanical vibration. And Dodo keeps fucking sneezing. And I was really confused as to why she was sneezing. I just thought that was her thing. And I was going to be like, if she fucking sneezes throughout this entire fucking series.
That's her thing. That's her companion trait. She just sneezes constantly.
I mean, that has been a trait for characters in the past, where they're like, I have allergies. sort of
Yeah,
thing.
but she doesn't say that. She just has fucking, sneezing.
Dodo apparently found a crusade outfit in the TARDIS and wanted to wear it. So she's in this outfit for no real reason other than she found it and she liked it. And she's not supposed to cause any harm to it because they might need it later.
I think it's Ian's crusade outfit too.
How does it fit
The one he
her?
wears during the episode The Crusades.
How does
I'll
it
check.
fit
I'll
her?
check.
Okay. We see a monoid. Watch them
Wow.
go and walk back to tell everyone in the courtroom. And then they're told to quote unquote invite / arrest everyone and bring them in. Because there's no way they could get on the ship. And then the doctor's like, Dodo, you don't understand English. Wow. And I'm like, I don't understand? What's wrong with her English?
I'll get into it in a bit, but
Okay.
keep going.
They see a picture of the zebra with 2 heads on a rock, and they're like, well, that's weird. And then an alarm goes off, but then they see some monoids looking at the TARDIS trying to find the crew. So it's like, oh no, let's not be seen. So they hide in a small cave, and Dodo goes to sneeze again because her allergies are acting up. And Steven comes
No.
over and muzzles her to stop. We haven't been told what it is, Gam. I'm making a joke. I'm sorry.
You just jumped to an assumption.
Okay, I'm just reading my notes. They try to sneak back to the TARDIS, and Dodo sneezes again. But she's not crying. Her nose is running, and they make this a bit throughout the show about how she's not crying, and that she is crying, and all this stuff. And they go to get back on the TARDIS, and they see a city in the distance, and they realize they're on a spaceship. And suddenly
Shippy.
all the monoids stand up around them, and they have them at stick point.
Hell
and
yeah.
Stick point.
Hell
New
yeah.
on ABC. They're in court. New at 5 on ABC.
They're in court, yep.
They're in court and explain that they're from space-time. And they're trying to ask Steven what the fuck is up, and he's like, why are you asking me? Ask the fucking doctor. And that one prosecutor is still really fucking angry. And they come from Earth, but the monoids came to Earth from their planet that it was dying, but they don't know where they're from. But the Earth is also dying and about to be swallowed by the sun, so everybody got on a ship to leave and find another planet. They think that the Doctor and crew might be refusions or something, because they don't know what refusions look like, and they're going to take over the planet of refusion and live there. Refusis and live there. So they're like, maybe you're refusions and taking over the bodies and coming after us because we're going to come to your planet. And then the prosecutor sends a monoid to go look over the TARDIS. And the guy's daughter's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, trust them for 5 seconds. Like, what? And then they find out that they're in the 57th segment of time, which means about 10 million years or so has passed. And they brought everything, of course, 2 by 2, all the animals, so they could reproduce. And everyone on the planet Earth was reduced to a microscopic size. Which, thinking about it, why didn't they reduce the animals to a microscopic size? But it's fine. With cabinets full of millions of people. And it's going to take about 700 years to construct the statue that they're making, made of Riverium rock that will last forever. Because it's really tough.
Yeah, it's really, really tough.
Yeah. And then there's another alarm, and a cart comes in with a monoid laying on it, and they're like, there's a disease spreading among them. And then the commander falls over with a fever. And they're like, oh no, it was brought by the strangers. This is literally colonizing America all over again. Smallpox blankets. And the monoid then dies. And the crew and the doctor are seized because the monoid died. And they're arrested, and they're going to be made to suffer for their crimes using special galactic laws. And then that was the episode.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh. So, Dodo,
Mm-hmm.
Dorothea, Dodo Chaplet,
Yep.
her actress, Jackie Lane,
Mm-hmm.
had a very Cockney accent.
Yep.
And it shows quite a number of times throughout the episode. She struggled a lot to get the official BBC English, which is what the guidelines essentially for the BBC were. Everyone has to have this accent. Every English, every British has to have this BBC British sort of accent.
Right.
Not allowed anything else, except for maybe exceptions like say you have an American or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she struggled a lot with it to begin with. She gets better as time goes by, but the funny thing is, the episode that a few episodes after she leaves the show, they actually kind of relax that rule. They're like, people can have different accents on the show. It's okay. So it's like, I kind of feel sorry for her.
Because of course.
Yes. I will say, on top of that, this script is the first one to have a woman listed as the writer.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Scott, who was the wife of the other writer, Paul Erickson, she supposedly did no work on the script, but he wanted to include her on the writer's credit because it was a personal arrangement I had with her, which was my own personal business at the time. The circumstances went into history. I need say no more than that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's still important. Still an important part of history. Because Doctor Who still kind of struggles to get women writers.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle to a degree on the main show. Not like they don't try, but
yeah,
they didn't try that hard when Stephen Moffat was running the show, but Stephen Moffat doesn't exactly have progressive views about women.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, episode 2, what happens?
Well, it's called The Plague, so you can kind of figure it out, personally.
Oh, is it about COVID?
Might be. A little hard to watch, I'll admit, but it's fine.
That's right. It's not like there's any sort of real world analogy.
It's not like there's a total fucking fascist in there. Sure, it's fine. The Doctor isn't really sure what to do. Or what they will do to them. And Dodo is crying, but actually her nose is running. But then she's actually crying because she thinks she's killed everyone. So the doctor tells her, just rest. You might get sick. You're sick. Get rest. If they get out, they might be able to help. At the console, Cranky Man, who I later call Xenophobia, Cranky Man sees another victim, monoid, that falls over sick, and falling over at the TARDIS, and they're like, look at all these people dying. And they're trying to find an answer with the microtologist, but there isn't really anything they can do, apparently. And the captain finally
Microbiologist.
Microbiologist? I thought it said microtologist.
Not microtologist. Microtologist isn't a thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like, I thought I heard that in the show, and I was like, what does that mean? Do they mean microbiologist? Because, whoa. Anyway.
Yes. That's what they said.
Mm-hmm. And there's like nothing that they can really do. The captain finally speaks up, and he's saying like, I'm drifting in and out of clarity, but if I die, make sure the voyage continues. It's the only thing that's important, the eventual landing and finish of the voyage in 700 years, when the statue will be finished. We
must be colonial.
We must. And then Dodo's kind of racist a little bit. And then we...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a kid growing up in the 60s. She's not
care.
fucking... She doesn't realize.
I know, I don't care. I'm still gonna call it out.
I mean, considering she was going to a British school...
She hears some drums and basically goes, I'm gonna be racist and say, wow, are those some savages? And then we see monolithic.
I'm gonna bring this up as a point of contention to you, because it's not intentional, insidious. Intentionally insidious racism.
But it is still racism.
She legitimately doesn't know better.
No, I
because
know.
She's not taught better.
I know she doesn't know better, but what I'm saying is in the day and age of 2020, I'm going to call it out.
Yes, and I'm saying, call it out, but don't call it out in a way that implies that she should have known better, because she didn't know better.
I didn't say
she wasn't taught better. Well, you were saying it as if it was an active choice on her part.
Well, I mean, it's how I wrote it. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll go back and talk to past you then.
Okay, thank you. That's a good choice. We see monoids carrying a dead body through the halls and committing the body to a space burial. And we see the body fly out in a teeny tiny model. It just kind of is like put on a string and is just thrown out the ship.
Small model.
And there's apparently going to be a trial with some people going to take their side and also the monolids side. Because they're the ones that died, of course. Also, Steven is possibly sick, so that's fun. But he goes anyway to go out to do the trial. And they assume it was no accident, and that they were here wanting to kill the entire spaceship so that they didn't take over their planet. And they don't believe that the TARDIS is a spaceship, and they keep thinking he's a traitor to them. And they go, okay, well, here's the thing. They ask if the doctor would be willing to help them work on it, and he's like, well, yeah, and everyone's like, no, fuck that, he's a fucking piece of shit. And everyone's fucking shouting and scared.
He's an evil Batman, and I do not like him.
I don't understand him, so I do not like him. The argument is that the fever was a stupid plan because it was difficult to enact, and also it would harm the doctor and the crew themselves. So it's kind of stupid. Yeah. But then the other argument is also that if there's a small chance the doctor could cure it, why remove them at all? Because if it's a small chance, even like a 2% chance, like they should try to, take it, sort of thing.
Yeah, they really should.
Yeah.
But, humans.
Mm-hmm. So, after that, a human has died. Oh, no.
A body has been discovered.
A body has been discovered.
Sorry, that's a Danganronpa joke.
Mm-hmm. And the bear comes out and tells them that they have to get ready for trial to figure out who was the one who was the murderer.
Sorry, now I've just completely recontextualized this episode as a Danganronpa now. Even though there's a more accurate Danganronpa Doctor Who episode, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, keep
going. So
going.
now, without any jury or judge, they just fucking say, let's evict them into space. And then Steven faints. And then they're found guilty fucking without pussy. Any choice at all. But the doctor begs to help them find a cure, but is like, nah, we're gonna make the choice to ignore you. Two men come up and ask, hey, fuck ass, fuck you, just consider trying, we have nothing to lose. And he's like, no. So they assemble the monoids to go get them, but then the commander sits up in bed and gets on the intercom and says, release the prisoners, give them a lab to work on the cure. If the doctor can cure Steven, they're safe and alive. And that works, and he can help everybody else. And xenophobic fuck-ass fucky is angry, but does as he says. So they lift Steven onto a table, cover him with a blanket, and send Dodo to go get supplies. Then he tells Dodo again that she can't fucking speak, and I was very confused. And then, for whatever reason, there's a huge, like, metal screech in the audio that hurts so bad. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I don't know what that
like
was
a
either.
metal, like, bookcase being dragged across cement, basically. Ugh.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
It's one of the things that get me, is things that have to do with metal, is one of the worst noises for me. So they talk about how there was a vaccine way back when, in colonial times. But they need animals to make it or something. So they're like, go do that, we'll work on this. And one of the monoids is apparently smarter than expected. And the doctor's like, oh, thank you for helping me. You know, your kind is so much smarter than most people give you credit for. And so on and so forth. And they make a serum and they use it on Steven. And then the doctor decides to go treat everyone without making sure that Steven gets better. Because, of course, Xenophobe is walking around to make sure that it works, basically. And he's watching them like a hawk. And the doctor comes over to check on Steven, and he has, like, a seizure, and then his fever drops. And he's doing better. I mean, he's dead. He's better. Both can be true.
He's deader.
Both can be true. So Dodo goes to tell them he is, of course, okay, and the commander sphere has also gone. So he's okay, too. But then they go, oh, our final time is now, and they see what I thought was a jellyfish on screen, and I'm going to assume now that it was the planet Earth burning up that they were watching.
Yes, it was the planet. No, it was a giant jellyfish that they had on the screen. They were watching the jellyfish channel. The jellyfish was going blub blub.
And then the blood came out of their eyes. Oh! Okay, I seriously didn't know exactly what it was supposed to be, okay? Everyone's okay.
Yeah, that was... Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the end of the episode, too.
Yeah. Everyone's okay. They're talking to each other about finishing the statue, and they're like, you should come back and see it in 700 years. Xenophobia apologizes to the doctor, and then everyone scoots away on a Zamboni, and they head back to the TARDIS, walking inside, waving to the Mentoids, and the TARDIS swooshes away, and we're still on the camera. And then the Mentoid puts the Zamboni in reverse, and slowly backs it up. This is holding on to this shot way longer than it should have. But then the TARDIS weirdly swoops back into the same spot, looking in place. That's weird. And Dodo runs back outside, and she can't seem to find anyone on the spaceship? That's weird. That's really weird. And but they also see that the statue has been finished. So it's been 700 years. But here's the thing, Gamb. Here's the kicker. That statue, we saw it earlier. It was supposed to look like a human holding a sphere. I assume of the planet. And they're going to be like, this statue is for our children. Well, the problem is the statue now has the head of a Mentoid.
A Mentoid?
A Mentoid. Whatever. The eyeball people. It's fine.
A monoid?
Monoid.
Oh my god.
That might happen again. I may not have spelled their name correctly. Hold on.
Oh my fucking god, dear.
Mm-hmm.
So, the monoids, speaking of them, they were played by actors who each were holding a ping pong ball in their mouth to represent the alien's single eye.
Mm-hmm.
And the upper portion of the actor's face was hidden by a beetle wig.
Yeah.
All of the wigs that are used, I made the joke of, like, from a distance, it kind of looked like a Beatles reunion tour. But no, they are literally all, like, licensed Beatles wigs.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what the Beatles look like in 10 million years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, speaking of them, Steven's actor thought they looked ridiculous and could not take them seriously as a monster.
Gotcha.
He legitimately was just like, come on, really? Really? Yeah, so what happens in the third episode, dear?
Well, the return. So they return. And they're confused as to why the head is like that, and that there's leaves all over the ground. That's weird. And Evie is pawing at my mouth while I talk. Dodo doesn't really fucking understand how time travel works because she's a child, apparently. And they're introduced to an automatic guiding device on the ship, so everything's fine. It's flying without them. And then they're like, weird, that they should still probably have some people here to take care of everybody, right? And
taking care of business.
They turn on the cameras and we see a guardian doing something. He's bringing a drink to a monoid, apparently. And then a whole bunch of other humans are taking care of the monoids, cooking food,
God.
Being generally slave-like. Oh. And a human screws up in the kitchen and gets his arm sprayed, but apparently it was fire, and it fucked it up really bad. And a monoid comes in to speak to them, asking where they're from, and, like, what the fuck are they doing? And they expect them to be only friends with the humans, and that they will work for the monoids. So the crew will also obey them, apparently, because they are to see the leader. Number 1... shows them the video when they come in of the Doctor leaving and getting on the TARDIS, proving that they were there originally. You want to know why they came back? The TARDIS, of course, made the decision. The cure of the fever only worked so much, though. Apparently mutated and got worse. So.
No, well, it's a good thing that's not going to happen to any other viruses that we know of.
Please don't. Many of the humans were killed, apparently, in the fight because they were stupid and fought back, says the monoids.
Well, because they didn't think that the monoids would, like,
overthrow them?
Actually, like, try to overthrow them. They were, like, peaceful. They were like, hey, yeah, sure, if you want to get these, like, heat things to help out, sure.
Yeah, like, I'm basically saying the monoids thought they were stupid. So.
Yeah, monoids were mean.
Mm-hmm.
More like meanoids.
Oh, got him. Got him. That's a real pug there, bro. Got him. Got him. Yeah. There's a ton of rumors going around the ship, apparently, that just haven't wound up being true, including that traveling through time bit. But then the Doctor's brought into the kitchen, and they're like, holy shit, the rumors are fucking true. And this is where they are going to help prepare the food and sleep and live, always obedient. And they're all amazed that the Doctor is back. And literally my first question is, why don't they just poison them? If they control the food, just poison them. But we'll move on.
Because they're looked at constantly.
Yes. The Reputus is almost here. And the Mentoids are ready to take over the planet for themselves. And they're going to send a landing party down first to check the planet, and they have a plan for that. So they so in the kitchen, they drop a pill in some water, and then it's a bowl of potatoes. And we had a long conversation about the kinds of potatoes we wanted to eat, and how when Gamb comes to
really
America again, we're just all eating potatoes.
Please send me potatoes right now.
Please send Gamb potatoes at Manly, Australia. That's the only part I can remember.
Yep. That's it.
That's the only part I can remember and will say and not dox you. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
The crew is making a plan to overthrow the monoids, of course. And one person drops a cup off the table, and it's a distraction enough to try to steal a heat gun. But they fuck up because another monoid fucking walks in and stops them.
Oh.
And then now a human is dead. And the Doctor and Dodo have to go with the monoids.
The humans are dead.
The humans are dead.
The humans are dead.
Good fucking song. And band. One person No, wait, what? They send down a ship to the planet to check everything out, and the Doctor and Dodo are on it. Oh! And they're looking for the Refusians. But one is invisible, I think, and it gets onto the ship and pulls some levers and stuff, and then leaves. So, they see a castle in the distance, and they're wondering why they haven't met a Refusian yet. And they think that the place is deserted, even though they see a door slam. When they go to open it, there's no one in there. And Dodo's like, I don't like this, it's weird. And the monoid just, starts picking up shit and chucking it, going like, listen, if they're gonna fucking come talk to me when I'm making this much noise, I want respect. And a voice finally fucking speaks up, saying, put the fucking vase down, because you broke my first one. And he's like, no, I refuse, and goes to throw it, and his arm is forced to put it down, and then he puts the flowers back in the vase, like they're very lovely.
Aww.
Yeah. They apparently made a device to kill all the Guardians, and it's up in the statue. Oh ho ho ho! But then a human hears this and gets really scared and goes to tell everyone in the kitchen, but no one wants to listen to him or hear him out until they do, and then they get scared. And the Refutoids knew that everyone was coming, but they got rid of their shape and form a long time ago because
Refusions?
of Refusions. It's fine. We're just gonna fuck up names back and forth.
You just
it's
said
fine.
Refutoids.
It's fine. And they can't even see each other because of a solar flare that happened, and that got rid of their shape and form. And it's okay. They're being taken over, and that's fine. They're okay with that, but the people need to be peaceful first. And the other two are going back. What?
They just want people to live. They just want people to live on the planet. They want people to live and for peace to reign on the planet once more.
Yeah. Listen, they're okay with being taken over. That's what I'm saying here.
Well, it's not really whatever. Keep going.
The other two are going back with the ship to warn everyone, but then a monoid fucking burns them alive, and I assume that they heard it, and the Doctor and Dodo go out and find the body of the other guy that came with them, Mr. Redshirt, and two mentions that the planet has people on it, and it's bad, but then the ship blows up before he can finish the word bad, so there's nothing the Doctor and Dodo can do but sit and wait. Maybe there'll be another ship. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe they'll just stay on this planet forever, dear.
Maybe
I don't
forever.
fucking know.
Maybe.
What do you think?
There's a good chance.
Okay. That's yeah, that sounds legitimate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was the episode. And that was the entire episode. They're stuck on the planet forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Doctor Who.
Goodbye, Doctor Who. More like Doctor Who.
Goodbye, Doctor Who. So there's a lot of continuity with this episode and other Doctor Who episodes in general. Like, they're kind of... The great thing about Doctor Who is they go to so many different time periods and shit, and yet still they find ways to contradict other storylines. Like, this one, they have the Earth burn and die in the year 10 million, but we know from the new seasons of Doctor Who that that's not what happens.
Yeah.
Although, you don't really see Earth die in this. You see the ball gaseous and trailing towards something, but you don't know what it is. Whereas in the end of the world, we know that the National Trust, which is rich people, preserved the Earth for billions of years that followed it. So, little things like that throughout it. Also, this isn't the only sort of Ark-type ship that has been built from Earth. There are many different reasons why. Humans, there's the Starship UK, there's the Silurian spaceships. A lot of people wanted to get away from Earth because they thought it was bad. Um, but one thing that has always kind of confused me about this one is they say it takes place in the 57th segment of time. Mm-hmm. And that everything the Doctor speaks of, the Romans, the Battle of Troy, the Dalek Wars, that all takes place in the first segment of time. It's like, fucking Jesus. This is a weird concept that they don't ever bring back, I don't think. They really should. Because they rarely go past, like, the 51st century. They rarely go past that in Doctor. And if they do, they go, like, really far forward. Like, from there, it's like, okay, suddenly it's the year 10 million. Or it's the year 500 billion. Like, it's shit like that.
Yeah.
So, they have this... The segments of time are obviously so they could tell different stories at different times. Mm-hmm. Which I guess is a good thing because you don't want... It allows for so much unique storytelling at the very least. Like, there's another story kind of like this in that there is an arc that holds what they believe to be the last of humanity. But it's at a different point in time. And it's a completely different type of story. The only thing that's similar is that there's humans on an ark trying to get away from Earth because Earth is becoming, not a very nice place to live.
Yeah.
But yeah. What happens in the final episode, dear? Tell me.
Well, it's called The Bomb. And they don't really know what's wrong with 2. And they're like, his report was favorable. Maybe he... landed and everything was fantastic. Batastic. It was brilliant and fantastic. And so we're confused, and one is kind of thinking what to do, but we'll apparently proceed with the main landings. 4 is sort of like, please don't. I'm kind of confused as to what you're doing. And 1 is like, okay, well, if he fucks up with our shit, we'll kill him. And the invisible refutoid is concerned about the Ark and how war can't come here. And they're going to give him 1 day before they start employing defensive measures. And apparently, one of the subject guardians is too frightened to help the people in the kitchen. The one that came in earlier and was like, there's a bomb! So they're going to trick them into working for them. They load the launchers with everyone and are preparing to leave with only the mentoids. The monoids are preparing to leave. Everyone is concerned about what the fuck is happening. The guardian guy sneaks in, or comes into the kitchen, and he's like talking to them about what's going on. One guy sneaks out behind them, and when Scared Boy leaves, the sneaky boy opens up the kitchen for everyone to leave. And now all the monoids are leaving now. And the bomb is set for 12 hours from now. So they're off the ship and going down to the planet. And the crew is like, we need to find that bomb and get back to Refusis. And the monoids land and look around the planet. And we're like, you see this? I made this. And they also see the ship blown up. And they go, oh, well, shit. Let's destroy whoever did that. And we see the Doctor and Dodo listening into the conversation and hear about the bomb before jumping on one of the ships. They call back to the launcher and Steven answers saying, don't worry, we'll find the bomb. I guess.
Spoiler.
And the Doctor... Spoilers. And the Doctor will send the launcher back to the Ark. By using the refusions instead of the Doctor so that they don't think someone's on this ship. They just think he set it to go and launch without anyone on it. And Steven wants to check the statue, but then gets distracted. And they're asking the Doctor where the refusions are, but they haven't seen them? And he's like, listen, I haven't seen them. I have not seen a single person on this planet. I haven't seen the people you're talking about. But if they don't talk, they're gonna
Isn't he
die.
right, Dodo?
Oh, Dodo. Oh my god, stop. If they don't talk, though, they're gonna die. And 4 finally comes up and he's like, hey, 1, like, stop. And they talk about how if you go back to the ship, you're gonna blow up with the statue and everybody. And how they won't have time to get it out because it's really, really heavy. And he's like, you know what, we'll figure it out. And so 1 takes a burn gun and they goes to kill all the people that followed 4 and all the others. And 1 guy is upset that they're picking the ship over their own lives, of course. And pretty much goes like, I don't understand why we have to worry about everybody else on this ship who's microscopic. Because, yeah. Yeah. Well, Melissa, the lady that was the one that knocked over a pot, apparently, is also going to stay with them. And for the most part, everyone has a plan to go and do things. Sorry, I'm talking.
Oh yeah, plans are important, dude.
Yeah. Potato Melissa Lady and Steven start to go look for the bomb. And the monoids are walking through the woods, and we see number 1 holding them at gunpoint. And number 1 is saying, these are my orders anymore, get fucked. And number 4 is like, no. And then they all get into a fight and run away from each other. And they die in the best possible. Mm-hmm. That's about the best way I can explain it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. A landing ship is seen, and it's the Guardians. Scaredy Boy, of course, goes out first and sees the monoids and goes, bastards! And gets fucking killed. The monoids keep fighting, and the rest of the Guardians sneak out of there. One of them goes, gets the doctor, and they all leave together. And we see number 4 still alive, but he's shaken to the core, worn the fuck out. You know, the usual. And they contact Steven while flying back to the Ark and tell him it's at the head of the statue. And the refusion is apparently amazing and can help them move the statue by lifting it because he's very strong.
You gotta remember, when the solar flare supposedly happened, they lost all form.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, all they are disembodied voices now that can, like, they're not, like, invisible. Like, a solar flare didn't make them invisible, it made them lose form. So I guess it kind of makes sense. It's still kind of ridiculous, but it kind of makes sense.
So they put the giant statue in the launch bay, push it out
not
of the
to mention
ship.
That's not how solar flares work, but whatever.
Oh, that's the thing we're worried about, is the solar flare?
Listen, if they're gonna say that's what solar flares did to them, that's not how solar flares work. And Doctor Who gets way better at using solar flares for shit.
It's kind of amusing to me. So when you're finding issue with the solar flare, which is funny to me because in the Viking episode last week, I had issue with, like, the fact that they were using, like, English swords from not 1066. And you were like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm worried about it.
Well, I say don't worry about it because I know why they were using it. They weren't using it as if, like, these are the swords that they actually use. But they were using it as, like, these are the swords that we have access to in our prop department. So this is what we're going to use. It's like, if they did that in modern day Doctor Who, yes, I would have a problem with it. Because modern day Doctor Who has the budget to have period accurate stuff. And they make a point to try and do that when they can. So it's like, if they did that, that's a big mistake. And, like, come on, you're better than this. But doing this in, like, the 60s, it's like, yeah, no, I know why they did that.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe they legitimately thought that it was accurate as well while they were doing it. But still, it doesn't matter.
I guess what I'm getting at here is that it's amusing to me that, like, it's very obvious that I like things that are fantasy and high fantasy, and you don't. And you like things that are sci-fi or like science-y in general, and I don't. And that is the whole point of this podcast. And it shows, and it's sort of amusing to me. That's all I'm saying. So their fusions.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Their fusions are also going to help them get down to the planet, because everyone's safe now. But there's one condition. They have to make up with the monoids before they can colonize Refuses.
They have to make out with them.
Yes, they have to get mono before they can colonize Refuses. So the crew gets back... And then the crew gets back on the Zamboni, and they get the fuck out of there with a scene that is not nearly as long, thank fuck. And the TARDIS swooshes off.
It was long for a reason.
And we see Steven and Dodo finally in like some late 60s to early 70s clothing. Like very mod.
Late 60s.
Very mod clothing. And then the doctor sneezes and they're like, "Doctor, did you catch her fever?" And then they're like, "Wait, doctor, where'd you go?" And he's turning invisible. And they're like, "We don't understand what's happening." And he's like, "This is some sort of attack." And that's the Celestial Toy Room that we're not going to watch.
I really, really hate that one. I legitimately love that episode so much.
Yeah.
And the villain's great, the episode's great, the story's great, what happens in it is really psychedelic and cool.
You're free to catch us up next time.
No, because I don't want to spoil it in case we do end up watching it. Yeah. So what do you think of this episode, dude?
Like a 4, maybe 3 or 4. There were parts of it that were like, "Oh, that's interesting," but the logic kind of part of my brain where I was like, they could just poison them or like do other things sneaky behind the monoid's back.
Yeah, and I guess the thing to me is like
also,
you say something like that, and I say, sure, except for the fact that the monoids are watching their every move. And these humans aren't the same type of humans that you first meet. These are humans that have gotten weaker over time because of that virus.
Okay, but I would like to counter, there's a whole point where that one guy comes in to talk to them, and they're like, "Let's trick him." So they literally have someone run outside because no monoid is watching them. And then there was also the situation where they say, "Let's cover this up," and they make a plan to cover the guy, like, the fake sleeping man up, where no one was watching them as well.
But what?
There's like 2 or 3 instances, like, where they're not being watched, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and you say that as a flaw, and I see that as a point of, this is what they're at. Like, they have been born into this slavery. Mm-hmm. They have been born to have essentially any sense of resistance beaten out of them.
Well, yes, but they
to
also
a point
are
where
talking about resistance
didn't actually
the entire
need
time.
They didn't actually need anyone watching out for them half the time, because A, they were locked in that kitchen, and
okay. Well, then
B,
at that
the monoids
point,
had cameras everywhere watching them still.
Well, then at that point, like, we could still say that they could still be poisoning them, because they, even though they were born slaves, which I understand that, they had the drive to try and win before the doctor got there.
No, they didn't.
They did. They talked about trying before and how it never worked. I'm just saying, that's the kind of nitpicks that bug me, is like, I see all these possible things that I feel like they could do, and it just kind of bugged me. So that's why I didn't really like the episode.
Thing to me is, like, you see those things, and I can tell you there are things that explain it away. Not all the time. Sometimes it's like, yeah, no, that's just dumb. But with this, it's like, no, yeah, there are ways to explain away this sort of thing. Like,
I mean, that's fine. I'm still gonna give.
Plus, also, they don't have knowledge knowledge of poisons. Like, they don't know what would poison the monoids. And trying it would mean certain death.
I'm still gonna give it a 4.
Plus, how would you kill all of the monoids? They don't all eat that one bowl of food.
Well, no, but that's not how baking. Okay, still gonna give it a 4.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Fine, whatever. Fucking.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever. Next week, we're not watching The Celestial Toy Room unless it comes out between now and then, but it's not. I wish it did, but it's not. It's not even on the list of DVDs that they're looking to remaster. So we skip it and we go to The Gunfighters. That is an episode.
Whoa.
Another historical episode that I thought Dear would know something about, but I guess she doesn't know anything about the gunfight at the OK Corral.
I know it was a gunfight, and I know Billy Kid, and that's all I know.
That is not Billy.
Okay, well, I know it was a gunfight.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more than a gunfight, but okay. Anyway, okay. We'll see you next week then. 4 out of... Seriously? It's not that bad.
I just didn't like it. I'm allowed to not like it.
Well, yeah. Sure. Okay, so... We'll see you next week then for the Gunfighters.
Yeah, okay, Kowal. Okay, Mr. Kowal. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Kowal.
Please stop.
No.
No. Bye.